Croeso bawb i'r sesiwn fyw ar ail ddiwrnod y gynhadledd 'ma, the live information, advice and guidance session. Welcome all of you. Good to have you in the room with us, and I've got a panel of starlets here. Yn gynhadledd Seren heno, mae'r ser yn disgleirio, maen nhw ymlaen i nawr. Apply for international courses and summer schools. Lle di'ch gorwelion? Ble chi am fynd? Where do you want to go? You're going to leave your nests at home? Let the panel of experts help you decide where you're going to go. Gadwch chi ddrwy gyflwyno hynny i chi. And I'll start with Rowena. Tell us who you are, Rowena.
Hi there. My name's Rowena. I'm from London. I'm a wannabe Welsh person, and my expertise is around helping people in the UK apply to US universities, and I also run something called the Sutton Trust US programme.
Diolch yn fawr, croeso Rowena. Matt Jones.
Shemai bawb, Matthew Jones dwi. Dwi'n dod o America yn reiddiol, ond dwi'n hapus i gweud bod dwi wedi dysgu rhai o eich iaith, a dwi'n caru eich iaith, a dwi ddysgu ar Northeastern University. Am y rhan mwyaf dosbarthiadau blwyddyn cynta, a dwi'n edrych ymlaen i annog a cefnogi chi mewn un ffordd dwi'n gallu.
Wonderful to hear your Welsh there, Matt, all the way from the States, and the way that Wales has inspired you to learn the language, and I'm sure you're going to inspire people tonight. Diolch yn fawr i ti, Matt, a chroeso mawr. Dante, tell us who you are.
Hey everyone, my name is Dante Day. I'm from Cardiff in Wales, but I'm currently studying at the University of Chicago. I'm a first year and I plan on majoring in economics.
Croeso mawr o Chicago. On to our second Matt Williams.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt Williams, the Access Fellow at Jesus College at Oxford University. Jesus College is known as the Welsh College because we were founded by a Welshman 450 years ago. I run summer schools with the Seren network, one residential and one online, which next year will cater to 375 people, and we're really excited and looking forward to it. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks, Matt, and I know you're called the superhero very often. With all that you've done for Seren, we're really grateful for you. Agnes a Liam, croeso at y tithe heddi. Gweithio ni pwy wyt ti?
Noswaith, good evening. Fy enw I yw Liam Rahman. My name is Liam Rahman. Fi'n dod o Sir Gar. I'm from Carmarthenshire. So I'm the head of partnerships at Equal Education, and I also work with the Welsh Government very closely on the various partnerships with international university programmes. And as an undergraduate, I studied at Yale NUS College in Singapore and at Yale University in New Haven. Super excited to be speaking with you this evening. Diolch am y siawns I siarad â chi heno.
Hyfryd cael ti ma, dy brofiad anhygoel di. Well, I am going to start with a question that's come in this evening. It's about the process of applying for international courses. Is it harder applying abroad? Will the process be far more complicated? Now, Liam, fi am ddechrau efo ti. Do you want to take on that on board, first of all?
So, I'm going to put out a short answer, which is yes. It does add a layer of complication in that it takes a lot of self-motivation. I think it would be wrong to say that, you know, it's easy just to do something different. It is different. There are different processes involved, a lot of research, and as I say, it takes a lot of self-motivation to do that, to apply to study abroad. What I would say is that Seren is the best platform to help you get there. You have all of the tools at your disposal, all of the support. I don't want to answer, spend 5 minutes answering that question. I'm going to hand it to Rowena, if that's okay, because she can tell you a bit more about what exactly that process is.
Diolch I ti.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you're looking at applying to a university in the US, I think there's a difference to make between applying for a summer school, and particularly the Seren summer schools and the Sutton Trust US programme. These are applications that are designed for you at Seren, so there's lots of help and support available for that. But if you are looking to apply to a university outside of the UK, it is different just because it's not necessarily been designed for you. So you have to kind of translate what you know from home into a different system with perhaps different language, different expectations, different things that they might be looking for. And that's part of the fun, that's part of the enjoyment of the process, is learning more about the universities perhaps you're looking at abroad, and understanding that it kind of sets you up for the whole experience, where you're going to be learning perhaps in a different country, perhaps challenging some of the ideas that you might have about how things work and the way that the world is, just because that experience can be very different country to country. I don't know if Dante wants to add anything to that piece.
Yeah, I mean, you guys like covered the general topics of the unfamiliarity associated with the process of applying. I mean, that's what made it difficult for me, is because it's so different to personal statements here in the UK, that you've got to do all this extra research. But like Liam said, with the help of the Sarah Network and the Sutton Trust, that kind of offsets some of those pressures that you're going to face if you do decide to apply. So,
did you find you had to think at a sooner than normal when you thought of the international process, Dante?
I mean, it was a lot. I think because I applied to both the UK and the US, I did have to start thinking about it earlier on. But that's where the help from the Sarah Network and the Sutton Trust came in, because we started thinking about these things from April, and then we were drafting our essays and stuff in the summer. So yeah, it's always good to start thinking about this process earlier on, because that's only going to help when the deadlines come around in November and then January.
Okay, thanks, Dante. Matt Jones, what would you like to add to that?
Well, as far as applying at all?
Yes, and the process itself.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, I can say this much, that in terms of the actual application process, I guess what I'm most comfortable speaking to is in the actual personal statements and what have you. To really I'll tell you what I look for in terms of when I'm speaking with my first year students, many of whom have come from these programs, is the sort of openness and the sort of desire to take part in a sort of very diverse or very program. So sort of looking at where you want to go and and expressing why you want to be there, but also what you can sort of contribute as an individual. I hate to say this, but there's no real delicate way to say it, I suppose. But the average, I don't want to say the average, a lot of people in America can stand to learn a lot about what it's like to be from Wales, about that element of one's sort of identity and experience. So what you as a person can sort of add to the group that you will be joining, in addition to your eagerness to grow as a person yourself. Does that help?
Yes, that's great. I mean, the title of this evening's Q&A session is about the international study, but also about the summer schools. So I'll shift now. Rowena started mentioning about the summer schools earlier, but I want Matt Williams to come into this section now. Would attending a summer school, it says here, give me a greater chance of getting you to university? Now that could be an international study or a university in the UK. So do you want to answer that one, Matt?
Yes, please. It's a complicated and very good question. My simple answer to it is no, it won't, strictly speaking, make it easier for you to get into a university like Oxford. In other words, we don't look out for people to have gone on summer schools like this as part of the admissions process. So we are just as happy to consider applicants who've not been on summer programs to those that have. But we design the summer schools to provide all sorts of fantastic support so that the chances are you'll be a much more confident applicant. You'll also have more of the skills that will make you stand out in the application process. And it just so happens that a very large proportion of the people that attend our summer schools go on to apply to Oxford and Cambridge and other competitive universities. So it does seem to be translating into greater confidence and greater success. But I guess in terms of a box tick, you absolutely don't need that box to be ticked to be a viable candidate, if that makes sense.
Yes, and I know the video's been out recently, well today, Matt, about the opportunities of the summer school. Tell us a little bit more about that and the new link that's coming out on that as well.
Yeah, really excited. So we started out in 2017 with 22 people from Wales staying in Oxford with us. And in 2021, that's going to have expanded to 375. So really, really exciting. One of the summer schools teaming up with Liam and Equal Education, we're going to have 300 people on an online digital international summer school for 2 weeks in July 2021. The other will be residential in Oxford. The online summer school is going to be more subject focused, and we've got 8 capstone projects which will be to do with, say, whether or not you can help us come up with an algorithm to tackle fake news on Twitter, or whether or not you can determine the law for a perfect murder. So it's all over the shop academically, but really interesting and focused. And then the Oxford Residential Summer School will be in our 16th century central Oxford buildings. You'll come and live like an Oxford student for a week, and we will be talking about superpowers, and that's much more interdisciplinary. So from superheroes to supernovae to supermodels, we'll be talking all things super for a week. So it should be really cool.
So is that why they call you Super Matt?
No, I don't.
The superhero.
That's an outrageous but very kind thing to say.
But Rowena, can you tell us about the summer schools that you help assist with?
Sure, of course. So something that I look after is called the Sutton Trust US program. It is a program for young people from across the UK who are perhaps the first in their family to go to university and who are interested in exploring US study. And so we go through the first part of the program, which is while you're in year 12, looking at what it might mean to study at a US university, what are the different options available, and hopefully we'll include a trip to the US to visit US universities, as long as it is safe to do so. So obviously everyone's health and safety comes first. If that's not possible, then we have all sorts of backup plans for next summer. And then as we go into year 13, students who want to apply to a US university will support their applications, and they're kind of putting together that information alongside applying to a UK set of universities as well. And we do a lot of work around financing US study, so making sure that the cost of studying abroad, and particularly at a US university, is not going to be a barrier to students who get admitted to those US universities.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of questions on financing coming through on the chat, on the Q&A just now. So can you tell us what the process is to help to alleviate any concern they have about finance issues?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the first thing just to flag is, and I think I'm correct in saying this, that the summer school options are all free for students. So don't ever count yourself out because you are worried about the cost. So all of the opportunities that we've talked about tonight don't have a price tag. They are literally priceless, and so you should totally take advantage of those. When it comes to studying abroad, it's worth thinking about the issues around costs. So you can't take your Welsh student loan with you when you're studying in a different country. So for example, Dante couldn't take his Welsh student loan with him. But what that means is that students who want to study in the US from the UK can be strategic with their choices and find universities that offer money to amazingly talented international students to come and study at a US university. So if you're in Seren, you are amazingly talented. If you are in Seren, you're also Welsh, which makes us all international and just really attractive to US universities who are looking to recruit the best students in the world to come and study at their universities. So since you're in Seren, that's you. And so there are resources and all sorts of help and advice out there about funding, US study in particular. And I don't know if Matt Williams wants to come in on funding generally, especially at a UK university.
Yeah, happy to, if that would be helpful. So finance is, of course, a very important concern for many people, but British universities, similar to American universities, want to make sure that money is not a reason for very talented individuals not to apply, because, simply put, money has no predictive power as to your academic ability or potential. Even if you have no money whatsoever, you still have the chance, and we would like to think the opportunity, to study at the world's best universities. So I can tell you that over a third of our undergraduates at Jesus College are on bursaries. 2 come from household incomes of absolutely zero, so they're completely penniless. But the universities like Oxford want to help you, just as Rowena was saying, American universities do as well. And so all of our summer schools are free. When it comes to standard finance, you get a loan from the Welsh Government if you come to a university in England or Wales or Scotland or Northern Ireland. You also get a living grant depending on your household income, which you don't pay back, which is something that English students don't have access to. So that's an advantage of being Welsh. So in short, money is a totally legitimate concern, but it is also something that we can help with, and we don't want it to be something that holds you back from grasping an opportunity that might be life-changing and exactly what you need.
Thank you, Matt. And obviously, Dante, you did grasp that opportunity. You attended summer schools and you're now doing international study. What was it for you? What did you get from that summer school? Because somebody's asking here, how can I bring a summer school into my personal statement application? Did you find that that experience helped you?
Yeah, it definitely did. Yeah, sorry. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it definitely did help me. So I was able to use the summer schools I went on in my personal statement in the UK, as well as the application process in the US, because it fell under certain categories such as like honors and stuff that I could fill out, and it made me stand out as an applicant to US universities in comparison to other students who may not have had those opportunities that I took on. So it's just a case of reflecting on what you learned from those summer schools, what you did, and trying to utilize those in the essays and the personal statements that you write, because that's what the universities really want to see. They want to see how you've grown as a person after these experiences. So knowing that and writing these essays and personal statements is what really helped me.
Diolch yn fawr, Dante. Liam, I can see you nodding there. Would you like to add to that?
Yes, just to agree with everything that Dante said, and it really sort of gives the full picture of what Matt was getting at as well, which is that, you know, it's not a ticking the box thing with the summer school, it's what you get out of that. What I've been, you know, really pleased to see is that students who've attended US summer school programs, many, you know, with Yale, for example, where we have the partnership with Yale Young Global Scholars, I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. Students who've attended that program, for example, aren't just students who want to go abroad for 4 years, say. We've had many, you know, some are, and you know, like Dante, have, you know, used that opportunity, done that, you know, reflection, and worked really hard to kind of, you know, to catalyze that, you know, amazing success and, you know, getting to Chicago. Many others have used it to shape their own sort of ambitions to go to top universities in Wales, in England. And it's what they kind of get out of the summer school, what they learn about themselves through it, which is almost more important, as well as showing that they are ready for that the academic rigor of a top university. That's what it signals, and it's really useful to see. I mean, I interview students on behalf of Yale's undergraduate office, and when you see that a student, what I try to do there is look at, you know, to try as an equalizer, because I interview students who are extremely privileged and those who aren't. I try to say, has this student made the most of every opportunity they've had? And if they have, then, you know, I really am, you know, supportive of that applicant, regardless of their privilege level. Just to add then, also in addition to the Sutton Trust opportunity, the residential program at Oxford, the SEREN International program also being run jointly with Oxford. We also have the really exciting SEREN Yale Young Global Scholars Partnership, which is going into its, I can't believe it's going into its 4th year now. And similar to what Matt described, has grown from, not 22 but 16 learners, and this year we'll offer up to 40 SEREN students a fully funded opportunity to take part in YYGS's online programme. So do take a look at that. We're running info sessions every Monday for the next 5 weeks on that to help you in applying to that. Hand it back to Glenda. Diolch.
Diolch I ti, ond gan bod ti'n siarad Cymraeg, mae rhaid I fi ofyn ti, so wyt ti ar gael I roi'r help llaw na bob nos Lun am chydig o wythnosau o hyn ymlaen?
Ydw. So ni'n neud sesiynau fel application workshops yn mynd trwy'r process. So we're doing those application workshops to go through the process with students. So to tell you all about what's involved, the advantages, the different academic tracks which are available, innovations in science and technology, solving global challenges, politics, law and economics, literature, things that are, really applicable to all students who are excited to learn. It's something which Matt Jones got at earlier is that US universities, and this is something which is common to undergraduate degree applications as well as the summer schools, they look for something about the individual, and so in the applications they'll ask you to write more personal reflective essays. So in the workshops we'll try and explain those differences. I'd really encourage you to attend. Really excited to see more of you there.
Yeah, great to know that they're happening and they're happening soon, so keep your eyes and ears open. Matthew Jones, question for you, question I ti nawr. What are the differences between a degree within the UK and US? Now, the ti di bod yn y ddau le. What are the main differences for those who don't know any of that?
My goodness, well, we're I'll point to one thing that that stood out to me. I studied abroad as an undergraduate in London, and my degree in Cardiff was a master's degree, so it's not quite the same. So I don't want to sort of overstep my own experience. But one thing that I'll say that American universities really embraced that I never saw the same of in the United Kingdom in the exact same way. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like if you're applying for like a university bachelor's program in the United Kingdom, you'll typically enter into a set degree track, right? And you'll typically have these these predetermined trajectories of your courses for 3 years. And that's absolutely virtually not the case at all in the United States quite often. So even when you come in saying, I know I want to be a biology major, I know I want to be theater or whatever, there's still a great amount of freedom for the courses that you'll take. And so you'll have things like general education requirements where you literally get to take anything you want to. So for instance, at UConn, where I did my PhD, they'll have sort of, what do they call them? Content areas, and you have to satisfy 4 of them over the course of 4 years. So in one content area, there will be like culture, and in another, there will be, I don't know, sociological things or something. And indeed, in the United States, and I can speak to this, there's actually, undeclared, you can go in undeclared entirely and just, see which direction you go. And I was undeclared until my final year of university, and it's not necessarily what I would recommend, but I came out all right. I like to think, but, so I guess I guess as far as my own experience, what I would emphasize is that there is a valuing and embracing of that sort of being exploratory, or of not even say knowing what you want at the end of the line at the beginning. So I don't think that there would be great harm in expressing that there is that curiosity, but you might not know exactly where it's going yet. But as far as actually applying to, say, British universities in comparison, we ddim yn wedi eto. Felly byddi yn ôl.
Ond ti wedi addasu'n wych a wedi dysgu'r Gymraeg, a ni'n proud iawn ohono ti. We're so proud of the way you've embraced the language. Rowena, I'm going to bring the next question to you. can you shed some light on this one? How do you cope with cultural differences when studying internationally? I love that question. How different are we all culturally? What are those cultural little differences that we have, and how do they manifest themselves at university?
Sure. I think at any time you're studying, whether it's studying at a European university or in the States or pretty much anywhere, you need to be ready to be open-minded, to ready to be surprised, ready to sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable. And certainly for me, I was given the opportunity to study in California, and just constantly surprised by what assumptions I had about what it meant to be, in my case, from England. You know, to be able to reflect back and understand your own identity as a Welsh person, as well as to understand more about the community that you're living in. And so I think you just need to go in kind of open-minded. You need to know that it's not always going to be easy, but there's lots of amazing things that happen out of it, and kind of that sense of independence and resilience. All of these amazing skills for the job market can come out of an experience of studying abroad. I don't know if Dante's got anything to add about things that have perhaps surprised you or been different for you studying in the US.
There is a lot to add, and I've only been here for like 2 months. So like, it's expected. You're going to be different compared to the other US students who are there, but in a way that's kind of a good thing, because everyone is always constantly interested in where you're from. And especially with me being from Wales, a lot of people don't actually know where Wales is. So something that's like so basic to you, such as like just being from the capital city or learning a bit of Welsh, is something that's like so like amazing to them. So it's just great being able to like just reflect on where I've come from, and it really does make you respect like your background a lot more, because you get to share that with other people who haven't been like introduced to that at all. It's been brilliant.
Great. Thank you, Dante. Now, Liam, you studied obviously as a student in different universities. How did you find those cultural differences?
It's hard to think now of my life in any different way. My closest friends are Spanish, Colombian, Swedish, Singaporean, and American. And so it definitely changed, you know, it changes your kind of life. I mean, one thing I liked, seeing, a bit of feedback from students who took part in the YYGS program this past summer, and this is a current year 13 student from North Wales, is, he said that the experience, even doing the online program with over 100 different students from around the world was, he felt has been a trajectory altering experience. And I think that was really powerful when I read that, because nothing is kind of the same after that. I mean, if you think about it, everything you do has a consequence. And that's what I found, is that I learn every day from those people who, weren't part of, my, culture going into university. The other thing I'd say is that you learn so much that whether you stay in Wales, in the UK, wherever you go thereafter, all of these top universities are very international. I'm sure Matt can speak to this. If you go to Oxford, you're going to meet people from all over the world, and having that experience in a summer school is just going to put you at an advantage, sort of personally going in, being ready to embrace that.
And tra bod ti ar y lein, mae'r cwestiwn ma'n gofyn y gweithdai o ti'n sôn amdano, these workshops you were talking about. Somebody's asking, how do you apply for those workshops? Beth yw'r broses?
Right, so Mana ffurflen, there's a form that is likely in your event box. So there are 3 different event guides for the various Sarah and summer schools: the Oxford Residential, Sarah and International Online, and there's the Yale Young Global Scholars Partnership. So those documents should give you the overview of the programme, the application deadlines, and also within the one for Yale Young Global Scholars, there's a registration link for the info sessions. So you go into that document, click on the registration link, select which info session you want to attend. There are 5. The one thing I would say, so one starts on the 14th of, the 1st and the 14th of December, the last on the 11th of January. If you want to apply to that program, the deadline's the 12th of January. Don't show up to the first workshop the day before. The one for the day before is really just to answer last minute questions and work, with students who are finalising things. You don't need to attend all 5 though. It's just to give you the opportunities. So sign up then, and then you'll get the link sent out to you.
Diolch yn fawr iawn i ti, cyngor ymarferol, real practical help there. I've got to go to Matt Williams now. One of these questions, and it's relevant to international study and summer schools. How do you get your application to stand out? What is the key ingredient, Super Matt?
So I've tried to recreate a university application form on our summer school application form so that you get a bit of a dry run at it. You get a bit of practice at a real university application where the stakes are frankly quite low. I mean, obviously we want you, but you can just have a try at anything. And what we look for in our summer school applications is exactly the same thing they look for in university applications, and it's already been telegraphed by the panel, which is a bit of personality. A good personal statement is personal. It says something about what drives you wild in your academic interests. I've been involved in admissions at Oxford for over a decade, and it strikes me how often a personal statement is terribly impersonal. It'll be a student telling us all of the stuff that they've read, but without a hint as to what they thought about anything. So it's, I read this book, I read the other, I thought it was great, is about as far as an opinion you're likely to get. But we want to get a sense of you, what drives you, what your motivations are. So for goodness sake, please tell us what academic interests you have that go beyond your classroom. So you have been self-led on that. You've wanted to look into it because you're passionate about it, not because someone has forced you into it per se. And tell us what you think about it. We also, for our Oxford summer schools, have asked you to write a short essay. And this year I've been slightly sort of sadistic, I'll admit, because I'm asking you to write an essay on one of 10 single words, which are space, fear, empathy, success, power, irrational, beauty, earth, control, and energy. So I might have gone a little bit wrong this year, so please sort of just bear with me. But the idea is, again, we want you to just express your thoughts on these fantastically rich concepts. So you've got one word and you need to write an essay about them. That sort of capacity to spin out an intellectual problem out of relatively few materials is what makes for an amazing application. But the bottom line is, be yourself.
That's wonderful. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put the test to the panelists to the test. Give us 2 or 3 words, each of you, on what the top tip you would give prospective students on international study or summer schools. And I'm going to start with Dante, who is the most recent applicant. Just a few words, because we've only got a few minutes left on this Q&A for now.
Okay, well, I mean, my first word would be yes. Just say yes. You're gonna hear about all these opportunities that are gonna sound amazing and brilliant. And if you contradict yourself in any way and think, oh, I might not be able to do this, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, you're your own barrier there. You're the only one that's getting in the way of that. So I just say yes and just apply, because the worst thing that happens is that you just get a rejection, a little setback, but a positive outcome is a valuable experience. It's going to change the way you think, going to change the way you act, and it's going to change your future, really.
You're just echoing what I heard from Liam earlier, if I remember rightly, but I'll go to Matthew Jones, the other Jones in this room. Beth fydde ti'n dweud nhw?
Oh, mae'n mor diddorol achos dwi'n gwneud fy ferwyr yn ysgrifennu treidawdau a gwneud nhw yn dywys, beth ydy geriau allwedd?
Ie, geiriau allweddol.
Ar eu pen eu hunan. Dydw I ddim yn dywys nhw erioed felly. So now it's on my shoulders. I'm not but I would say so again, in terms of me looking at my essays that my students write, and again, I typically teach first year writing classes where again all of these students sort of come together. I think in terms of just sort of expressing who you are, and really sort of elevating that as opposed to, as Matt says, it's quite easy to find yourself hiding behind other things whilst thinking that you're saying something quite profound or something like that. But I would say start with something like identity. Who are you? How do you understand yourself, and what I ask my students sometimes is, what is a misconception that people have about where you're from, about who you are, or even like, stereotypes or anything like that? And, how can you correct that? And even beyond that, what is the value of having it corrected, right? So secondarily, what you find yourself sort of conveying there is how you can take part in that change that you are calling attention to. And furthermore, encouraging other people to sit down and listen to what the change has to be. So I think one place to start would be identity, and of course being proud of who you are, and in this case coming from Wales, and for some of you, siarad yn Gymraeg, a minority language, what can you...
So a word or two, Rowena, we're quickly running out of time here. What would you say to end this? And then I finish off with Liam.
Of course, I have 2 words. First one is adventure. Hopefully that speaks for itself, but that is studying abroad. And then the other thing that I want to just say is Google. Google is your best friend. Use that to find the summer schools that you've seen today and heard about today. Use that to find information. Use that to find social media and be open to the ideas in the world.
Great. Ag I orffen, Liam, wrtha ti.
Isafiad bach amser I chi, be authentic and introspect, deep introspection.
Well, we've had a sense of adventure and discovery. You can Google, you can discover. The world's your oyster. Mae'r cyfleoedd mas fyna I chi fyfyrwyr, a chrieni a'ch gofalwyr a'ch athrawon. Felly byddwch chi'n gadael y nyth. Ond peidiwch gadael rhy bell heno. Don't spread your wings too far tonight. There are so many opportunities that you've heard for. Diolch yn fawr iawn I chi banner, chi wedi bod yn ardderchog. But there's one session left, so if you leave this link in a few seconds, please go back to the main room. Go back to the final session, the closing session of Seren 2020. Byddai'n yno yn aros amdano chi. So at 8:25, let's go to the closing session together. Diolch yn fawr iawn I chi. Hwyl am y tro.
Hwyl.